It appears that when President Reagan made his speech to the Congress and the nation last week about the need to make deep cuts in government spending, most people who heard him nodded their heads in agreement. But it's the business of reporters to ask nagging questions, even in the face of near unanimity. And a nagging question that occurred to us is represented by a New York neighborhood, which has long been a reproach to the nation. But the South Bronx is trying to rise from the ashes. It is a battle to do so. And Ed Rabel spent last week in the battle zone.
It was like the moon now, nothing but minerals. Buildings had collapsed. Their wood had been consumed and their stones had crashed down. Some walls still stood, but windows and roofs were gone, and there was nothing inside but ashes and dollops of melted glass. That is Kurt Vonnegut's description of Dresden after its destruction by American bombers in February 1945. But this is the South Bronx, February 1981, destroyed by other Americans. Life here is hard. The battle to survive is desperate. The outcome by no means certain. Almost every week is a bad week for the people of the South Bronx, who are mostly black and Puerto Rican. Last week was an exception. It was worse.
He calls it Fort Apache.
Hollywood's version of the South Bronx started playing at theaters nearly everywhere. Robert Roman took it personally.
Because they made black and Puerto Rican people look like pimps, hustlers, hoes, you know. That's not what it's all about.
Fort Apache, the Bronx. The fuse has been lit.
They made us look like a cesspool down here. And this ain't no cesspool. You can look around for yourself and see, that we're coming up.
And Maria Vega took it personally.
I can explain what it is, but I do feel safer in the Bronx. I don't know why. Living here in the Bronx, in this neighborhood, I feel safer than being downtown or as it was in Brooklyn.
Why?
It's something I can explain why, but I feel at home here.
I have the high privilege and the distinct honor of presenting to you the President of the United States.
Miguel Cruz and his family were at home last week when President Reagan, in his televised speech on the economy, proposed 83 major program cuts. It was another blow to the South Bronx.
And I'm asking that you join me in reducing direct federal spending by $41.4 billion in fiscal year 1982.
Miguel Cruz is trying to support his wife and 4 sons on the $800 a month he earns as a metal polisher. He took the president's speech personally.
In the sense that he's talking in general about the United States. And this is just a forgotten city, or forgotten border, the South Bronx. And I think he got the eyes mainly in the whole country, but not just in a specific state or whatever.
You think this area needs special help?
Yes, I do. This got to be treated as an emergency. It should be.
Everyone agrees that the South Bronx is ill. No place shows that better than Charlotte Street.
Once we decide to renovate block by block, we just need to concentrate forces here.
If you will listen for a minute, what I'm trying to tell you is, I can't do a damn thing for you if I don't get elected.
So presidents come here, look appalled at what they see, make promises, and leave. But Charlotte Street remains pretty much the same, burned out and desolate. And the people who live around here say they're tired of what they call all the broken promises.
All around is decay and destruction. Unemployment, illiteracy, arson, and despair have stopped a lot of people here. They didn't stop Robert Roman. He turned from gang leader to construction worker at a low-income apartment project sponsored in part by the government. But now he's afraid President Reagan's economic plan will put an end to such projects.
I want to be able to buy myself a car and buy myself one of them new apartments or a new house, you know, that they're going to bring into the neighborhood for low-income families. I want to be able to do all those things. You know, I want to be able to live a normal life like that. You know, I don't want to have to just start, scheming, you know, and driving people for money and for jobs, and you know, I don't want to go back to that.
We will tighten welfare and give more attention to outside sources of income when determining the amount of welfare an individual is allowed.
The speech in many ways hit at the pride of the people, where they live and what they are trying to do. Maria Vega is trying to earn a college degree at night and work as a teacher's aide during the day. She and her children are proud of their new rent-subsidized apartment in their embattled neighborhood. But they may lose it under President Reagan's plan, which calls for her to pay more and the government to pay less.
I would not be able to afford the apartment if that happened. I just don't know what we're going to do because I'm not receiving any public assistance. I'm just going on what I make, my salary and my children's salary, which is not much. So I feel very fearful of what might happen.
I mean, we're a group of people who are trying to work and be just like anyone else. It's just that we happen to live in a place where most people are poor. And
Ray Serrano is a job counselor on a block called Banana Kelly, where apartments are being renovated and bought by poor people with the help of the government. Some of the workers here are employees of CETA, a federally funded program to hire jobless young people, a program President Reagan wants to end.
The only thing that you see here is poverty, and that in itself is not a crime. Right now, for instance, the CETA program that we have here, some of these kids, they don't have any future. The fact that they got a job with a government program, to most of them, is the biggest thing that ever happened to them. But with all of that being cut off right now, I really don't see where they're going to have a place to go or any, you know.
The idea that there is total unemployment here, total crime, total drug addiction is a stereotype shared by many Americans. In the wake of the president's speech, it is an idea that makes people here feel as if they are under siege.
I'm going to run this piece in the right way. You got your nose buried so deep into that book of yours, you don't even see what's going on around here.
It is an idea that was reinforced by these actors playing the part of policemen. And South Bronx policeman George Hankins takes that personally, too.
Made the police look like a bunch of villains, you know, and that rubbed me raw. Don't finish up with a hook every time. Every time you're finishing up with a hook, bing, 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 and you stop it.
George Hankins used his savings to start this boxing club for youngsters in the South Bronx.
A pity pat with me, George.
Miguel Cruz sent his sons here for training and discipline. One of those sons, Abraham, 13 years old, already looks like a champ.
If it wasn't for him, you know, I wouldn't be what I am now. You know, he taught me how to box. Taught me, you know, how to discipline myself, you know. See, I think he mainly did it all for me. For us, you know, for us four, because we all box. And I think if it wasn't for him, you know, we wouldn't be, at least, I'm talking for myself, I wouldn't be at the point I am now. A lot of people say the Bronx is messed up, the crimes and everything like that, but if you want to be something, you make yourself known. Now, if you really want to do good in school, you do good in school, you be known in school. You want to box, you be good in boxing, you make yourself known, you make a name for yourself. I'm proud where I'm living now, because I'm with the kind of people I want to be. kind of people that love me and I love them, you know. It's just, you can be one room. Now, if you're around people who love you, you're not going to get tired of living there. So that Bronx is no good. I don't believe in that.
For poor young men in the ghettos of America, boxing has always been a way to succeed, a way out. It was true for the Irish, true for blacks, and it is true for Puerto Ricans in the South Bronx. There are only a few things, a few sounds that bring you hope when you've had another bad week in the South Bronx. Another skirmish in the battle for survival.
The South Bronx is my place where I live right now, and it might not be the best place of the world, but this is my neighborhood. This is what I live, and I have to do all the things that I got to do here, as far as participating in different things, such as trying to improve in some way. It is very sad and very pathetic. But like I said, my hands are tied, and whatever I can do, I will do, and I'm doing it. But my alternative is just to wait. As a force, I would say that everybody has a little bit of hope, because without hope, just like a dead person.
We wondered how Thanksgiving week would go in the vast and ugly, rubble-strewn region of New York City known as the South Bronx. Who would wish to spend Thanksgiving there? David Culhane asked the question and heard an answer by the people who live there and are trying to make things better. The human spirit is full of surprises. The author of Ecclesiastes wrote, "The poor man's wisdom is despised, and his words are not heard." But that was before television, which can let anybody be heard. Here is our Sunday morning cover story.
Please believe me, lately my whole world is changing. Suddenly you're here and my life is better than before. Which is the real face of the South Bronx? Shining youth or landscape of destruction? A new Federal Census Bureau study has revealed that this area is the poorest in the whole nation. Worse than Watts. Worse than rural Mississippi. Worse than Appalachia. South Bronx. For years, the name has been a way of saying poverty, unemployment, hellish crime, drug addiction, abandoned buildings, a national symbol for urban decay. South Bronx. For years, it has been a way of saying despair. But ask the people who live here, ask the people who chose to stay, and they will tell you that South Bronx is also a way of saying hope.
Alto. The first time. Nice support. Okay?
Seen the spirit of these young people. They're going to go out and they're going to make it. There's no doubt in my mind. They're going to make it. These are good kids.
Robert Garcia is the Democratic congressman for the South Bronx. It is his district that is the poorest in family income in America.
Is that, yeah, we have our problems. There's no question about it. But I wish they would talk about those persons who have stayed in the South Bronx, who have made their living in the South Bronx, who have raised their children in the South Bronx, whose sons and daughters today are lawyers and doctors and professional people.
But it's not easy to raise your children in the South Bronx.
I think everybody has a priority in their life, whether it's money or savings or their job or their home, whatever. Right now, I think the priority in our life is our kids' education. And
Dolores and Ed Colon stayed in the South Bronx, and they're raising their children here.
My main concern is our children right now. I'm 38 years old. I've had a good experience. So I want to make sure that they go on to better things.
People are still moving in and out, trying to get their lives together, and it's understandable.
Robert Foster stayed in the South Bronx, and he is raising his children here.
But school and parents go hand in hand, I feel. School gives them something to learn from, and parents is the one that drills it in their head. When my kids come home from school, homework is more important than eating at night to me. Get your homework down, get your studies down, then we can eat. Then we can go outside and play. Then we can do what a family got to do. But yeah, education means more to me than feeding you.
Lorraine Montenegro stayed in the South Bronx. She's raising her children here.
I also feel guilty because I've decided for my children, you have to stay here in the South Bronx with me. You have to partake of whatever sacrifice I'm making to give back to my community.
Number one, over there. No, wait, it's right here. Number one. One is over there. Turn.
The public and private schools are trying to sustain a level of quality in spite of the sea of troubles around them.
There are problems in the South Bronx. There's a lot of poverty, there's a lot of violence, there's crime, there's robbery, there's all kinds of things going on. And it's not getting better. I have 5 children. And then many times I said, what is it all for? And there have been times that I've wanted to pick up and leave and just hope that I can make it someplace else.
Lorraine Montenegro stayed in the South Bronx. She got a master's degree. She is now the director of admissions at the largest hospital in the area.
But there has to be hope, because if we don't live for our dreams, then what do we live for? And I think maybe some of the people who the stereotype is about, maybe they've lost their dreams or the hope to get their dreams. Where are And when I hear on news today, for the first day, the administration was able to say there are signs, there are real, tangible signs of the economy is taking an upward swing. I said, well, bravo, the economy can be taking an upward swing now, but we here in the South Bronx won't feel the effects for a couple of years. right now I think the feeling and the attitude is, let me just survive.
There are some new jobs, some new factories in the South Bronx. David Rios was unemployed for 18 months. Now he is working. Jose Cintron was at a plant that closed. Now he is working again. David DeLees is working again.
Thank God we've got Bathgate Industrial Park, which seems to have picked up. We've got a couple of defense plants over here just behind where we're sitting right now that have 300 or 400 people working today that 5 years ago were not working, and well-paying jobs, I might add. So there is some hope. There is some jobs, but it's not nearly enough.
The unemployment rate in the South Bronx is about 30%. It is the poorest district in America.
We have lost a great many jobs, but there's no question that, as far as I'm concerned, that many people in this area, in the Bronx, really want work, and we just have not come up with the programs that are necessary to put people back to work.
Has been telling me about some of the things that might be done in this devastated area.
It is 3 years and nothing has been done.
We've had the past two presidents of the United States have visited the Bronx. Both of them have walked away saying that they were going to do the following. 1983, we're here, nothing has been done.
And it's not just jobs. The people of the South Bronx feel that promises have been broken about housing as well. Hoped-for projects have so far not materialized.
I have to tell you that I've spoken to several of the potential Democratic candidates, and I told them without any hesitation, no more visits to the Bronx. You don't come to the Bronx unless you're ready to deliver.
See over here.
But there is some new public and private housing around the South Bronx. These efforts stand like oases dotted across the landscape, in sharp contrast to most of the structures around them. And now some people are renovating abandoned buildings, moving back to the South Bronx.
Earn it. Earn it the good way.
Edward Colon.
So here you stay on your ground, and you work on it, and you build on it. And this is how you keep it. So it has to work.
Dolores Colon.
The important thing, I think, is that the people that are moving back into the South Bronx are people that wanted to work. They may be poor people, but they're hard-working people, and that makes a difference.
Robert Foster.
Well, I wanted something better for my family. I wanted a good neighborhood. I wanted to be safe. I wanted not to worry about my kids when I go to work at night. Worry about my wife when she's home sleeping. And this is the place. This is where I have all my faith in.
It is the poorest district in America in this Thanksgiving season. Congressman Garcia.
I believe that decent people should know, decent people all over this country should know that there are many decent people right here in the South Bronx.
Lorraine Montenegro.
We're here. We've struggled. We've won some of our struggles and we've lost some. And we're still here to continue struggling. And that's what we're thankful for.
Russia? You know, a side of pork is so much easier to deal with.
South Bronx. It is a way of saying despair. South Bronx. It is a way of saying hope.